I thought this video would be easier to make. I thought it'd be a quick little, like, 2, 3, even make 4-minute video of me talking about Forspoken, really just getting that content out there as quickly as possible in order to, like, capitalize on the trend of Forspoken. Because technically, I am considered a content creator. And, that's a good way to get my content out there, get my name out there, face out there, whatever. But I don't want to create content that's just, like, reactionary and devoid of any kind of analysis. I feel like we are more than good on that kind of content. So this video is going to be a little bit different. I was writing a script and I just didn't like where the script was going. So I'm going to be doing a mixture of some reading, mostly off the cuff. Oh. So a lot of people are taking snippets of the dialogue of Forspoken and they're using it for like easy dunks and retweets and likes and hearts and all that stuff. And I get it. We're in the age of social media. That kind of engagement's good for whatever kind of brand you're trying to build.
And corruption are forms of creation in themselves.
Wow, you sound like a serial killer.
What?
Destruction and corruption are beautiful forms of creation in themselves.
I don't sound like that.
You absolutely sound like that.
No, you absolutely sound like that. Yeah, see? Two can play at that game.
You're fucking stupid.
I'm guilty of this too. I'm not immune to doing stuff like that. But the issue I'm having with just specifically with the dialogue for Forspoken, a lot of people are looking at it uncritically. They're just saying like, this dialogue is bad, it's cringy, it sucks, but they're not really giving any sort of analysis as to why they think that. Like, calling something cringe doesn't necessarily make it so. I think what's important here is the intent of something. So like, for example, Spider-Man is pretty cringy when it comes to his humor. I think we can agree on that. He's pretty corny. And in the video game Marvel Spider-Man that came out in 2018, they were faithful to that. He was very corny. But because he's cringy, if I were to take his lines out of context and post them online, does that now make the game poorly written? I would say no. And a lot of other people would say no, because this game was nominated for Game of the Year in 2018. Although it lost to God of War, it's still, the fact that's nominated Game of the Year should give some sort of, credence to its pedigree. But I don't think you can just say, oh, this is cringy and that be done with it. And I feel like a lot of people who are talking about Forspoken saying it's just the cringe, I think we're missing a bigger picture. And to me, that picture is we are tired of that sort of writing, that sort of humor, this self-referential meta commentary humor we've just been blasted with over the past decade. I've seen a couple people calling it like Whedon-esque, but that guy sucks, so I'm not going to use that. I'll stick to the MCU-ification of dialogue. MCU-ification of dialogue has been around, as long as MCU's been around. And typically back in the day, back in my time, when you were watching like a fantasy film and you heard a name like Glarnock the Beheader, you would let that name just go and pass because that was the environment, right? It's a fantasy world. But with the MCUification of things, not only would that not just go by, multiple characters would make a reference to that, and that would just become the basis of a bit.
Your name is... It's Taserface?
That's right.
Do you shoot tasers out of your face?
It's metaphorical!
You would have someone being like, Glarnock the Beheader? What? Was Glarnock the Conqueror taken? Like, like something like that. And while at moments that's kind of funny for levity, we've had so much of that kind of comedy that it's become tiring. And like now it's expected. It's, oh, we're in a fantasy setting, but we're not going to actually engage in the fantasy setting to the way that we could be fully immersed in it. We're going to engage in it as like a surface level thing where it's like, oh, we're just going to kind of poke fun at the genre. And I think that's one of the vibes I've been getting from Forspoken, that as far as the dialogue is concerned, it is very much a MCU-like take on dialogue and story, which again could be exhausting for a lot of people. while I love superhero stuff, I will admit it is kind of annoying when we have these fantasy stuff, and instead of them going full bore into the fantasy, they kind of want to just point out the ridiculousness of it. And I think another series that's kind of catapulted that kind of writing style to popularity is, Rick and Morty. And as far as video games go, it's recently the released Ion Life. That was a game where you were never not aware that you're playing a game. I mean, you pause the game with tutorial and then you come back and it's like, hey, did you just pause the game? Like, again, that sort of humor does work for a lot of people, but for a lot of other people, myself included at this point, it does start to grate on the nerves because we want to enter these games and be transported to these magical lands. Like back to Forspoken, like your character literally gets isekai to a magical world. And instead of just like fully embracing that magical world aspect of it, they're trying to like make this weird like amalgamation between like an MCU character, Rick and Morty dialogue, and fantasy. And I don't think they're nailing it that way. So I don't think the actual dialogue itself is bad. Freya, is being transported to a new world. Maybe she's using humor as a crutch. Maybe she has to be this way in order to like cope with the fact that there's like dragons and shit like that. And I also think that it'd be a normal reaction if you woke up one day and there's a fucking dragon. You'd be like, holy shit, that's a dragon. Or like, holy crap, I can do magic. But because that sort of reaction has been done for quite a bit of while now, it's now seen as cringe and bad. But that would still be within the realms of a natural reaction to have to strange phenomena, right? Like, I don't know if I'm making sense here, because again, this is no longer being scripted. This is just me talking to you guys. But I feel like that's being lost because of what's preceded it. We've already gotten that so many times now that it's like we expect this. It's like, oh, fish out of water story, you're gonna make a comment about like how this is strange. But like you would make a comment about how that is strange. You would make references, to things that you have a reference to. If I'm from New York, which I'm not, but like if I'm from New York and I get transported to this fucking fantasy world, yeah, I might make references that only I would know because that's my frame of reference. It's the only thing I got. But again, we as consumers, we as viewers, we as just, players, we have seen this before. So it's old hat to us. But we're in this weird area where like these characters can't express real reactions to things because we have seen those reactions and we deem them to be not real.
Okay, so let me get this straight. I'm somewhere that's not what I would call Earth. I'm seeing a freaking dragon, and oh yeah, I'm talking to a cop. Did I just do that?
We did.
I just moved it with my freaking mind! Yeah, okay, that is something I do now. I do magic, kill jacked up beasts, I'll probably fly next.
Now you're just being ridiculous.
Oh, that's too far. Good to know there's a line.
Now, that isn't to say that Forspoken is a perfect game. Granted, I personally have not played that game yet, but I have seen a bunch of reviews, and there's a consistent theme of the world being very bland. And recently there was a footage on Twitter that showed Freya in a apartment that's on fire, and there's a bag of money at her feet. Now, this bag of money is her life savings. So one would think, take my life savings because, it's everything I own or financially have. And that's it. You can even interact with the bag, but the interaction only prompts you to say, I have to find Homer. I have to get Homer first. Homer being her cat.
Gotta find Homer first. Gotta find Homer first. Gotta find Homer first.
Which raises the question of design. Why then implement this? Why then give me the illusion of this choice where it doesn't matter? Like, that speaks more to the character building of this. And that's a video I'm gonna work on for later on, because I think there's a lot of content there. But that's a criticism you could levy. You could say that the fact that her backstory is very stereotypical boilerplate. You could do that too. You could even talk about the fact that while she's, in court, her fantasy court, that she's just like being real flippant and sardonic to like these powerful people in different worlds who could destroy her in a second. Like, you could mention that too. But I think the way we're talking about the dialogue now as we are presently, it's a missed opportunity. So that's why I think the true issue is when it comes to the dialogue of Forspoken. I don't think it's just like, oh, it's cringy dialogue, because again, that's not a substantive claim. It's just how you personally feel. There is a wave of exhaustion that's been building and building and building and building. And other games like High on Life caught some of that wave, but it also had decent first-person shooting aspects, so it was a serviceable game. But according to the reviews I'm seeing, Forspoken doesn't have much else going on, so it's easier for that wave to just annihilate that game. But I still think that's a bit unfair. We are taking our exhaustion out onto this game. Now, like I said though, the reviews say that there has not been much else going on there, and I have not personally played the game, but from what I've seen and what I've heard, those are valid critiques. So if we want to critique the game on that, we can surely critique the game on that. There's tons of videos critiquing the game on that. But just focusing on the critiques I've seen about the dialogue itself, I don't think the dialogue is bad, because I feel like those reactions that she's having at those moments and what we've seen would be normal reactions. Like I think I mentioned this before about the trailer where she's like, oh my god, that's like a freaking dragon. I can do magic now. Like, you would be probably equally as hyped, equally excited. But again, because we as consumers have seen, like Spider-Man and Iron Man and all the MCU stuff and everything that's followed after that, that's old hat to us now. But those are still natural reactions. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about here. Wow, wasn't that a good and or great video you just watched? I know if I liked the video, I would, comment, I would like, I would follow, I would share it to everyone, and I'd watch more videos. There's probably something, I don't know, floating around here. There's maybe a video for you to watch up there. I don't know. I didn't edit this. I don't know what's happening here. I'm trapped in a box, in a void. I don't get to leave unless you guys watch my other videos. Please. I definitely didn't steal this bit from College Humor.